Alrighty. One of the first, yes, Crafts. How's it going, man? Just tying up some large steelhead. Large steelhead soft tackles here. I'm gonna be live for, yeah, probably an hour about. How's it going, Squirrely? Yeah, Craft, every time I look up musky flies, you're the first one to pop up. The Buford. I want to see another Buford fly. That thing is sick. Alrighty. Let's get this wire tied in here. Oh yeah, they're fun to tie though, that's for sure. Alrighty. Probably won't do that. How's it going, Liam? How are we doing today? What's up? I subscribe to your channel. You ski? I don't ski. I do snowboard. I've been wanting to learn how to ski too. I'm doing pretty good myself. Yeah, thanks for being around, Craft. We're just tying up a good old steelhead style soft tackle here. I'm using some floss for this. This is technically uni stretch, but you know, basically the same thing. And I'm just gonna bring this up to most of the way up. We'll leave a few hook eyes up there, and then I'll go ahead and tie this off really quick. And I'm using 6/0 kind of grayish tan thread. I actually don't know what this is called. This is Rusty Dunn. It's basically just a grayish thread. Just gonna tie this off. Yeah, that is true, Liam. Terrain park is way better on a snowboard. I do a little bit of everything. I like snowboard, or I like terrain park, and then I also like just kind of, you know, doing all mountain stuff kind of thing. And now I'm just gonna bring up this wire. This wire's being kind of a bot today. That's okay. And I'm not gonna go like any sort of tapering on this. I'm just gonna go a pretty even wrappage all the way up. At least as much as possible. Where are you at? You look like you're in a really mountainous area. You're out in Colorado, Montana. And so I'll bring this all the way up until here, and then I'll get a little bulb of dubbing on there. So tie this off. And make sure your wire doesn't come undone like me. Gosh, this spool in particular just always does this. I don't know if it's just this coating on this makes it really slippery, but it is quite annoying. Okay, tie this off. Bring it forward, bring it back. And then I'll use my old pair of scissors to just cut this off. Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. So you're out in the Appalachians. Very fun. Never been out there. Heard it's really icy though. Okay, let's get out some dubbing. I'll use some bloody black for this. I'm out in the Midwest, so lots of great fishing opportunities out here. We got trout out in the driftless. We got muskie, obviously in the North Woods in that central area. We got steelhead. Oh, is there good pike fishing yet over there? So yeah, Midwest out here in Wisconsin is very, very nice. Yeah, I'll be happy to see those pike fishing videos. I love pike fishing. Probably one of my favorite species is pike. Pike, trout. I love them all, honestly. Every species is my favorite. I love pike, muskie, trout. You know, smallmouth, obviously largemouth. They're all awesome. Okay, and because this is more of a streamer style soft tackle, yeah, I use both. I've caught lots of pike on spin gear and on bait casters and stuff like that. Favorite conventional lure for pike is a chartreuse, Rapala jerkbait, floating jerkbait, or a countdown. Very good lure. And my favorite fly for pike is gotta be a Clouser. Chartreuse Clouser, oh my gosh, so good. You can work it so many ways. It's just really effective. Sure, yeah. Arkansas is really good too, I've heard, for fishing. Like, it's like, obviously it's more southern species, but I've heard at least that it's a really good blend of kind of, you know, your northern species, your smallmouth and stuff, and then your, you know, obviously your southern species is really big bass and stuff. Arkansas is a place I've only been there. I've been there once. We went and camped in a national forest up on a little, I don't know what it'd be called. It was like a big plateau. I wish I knew the name, or I remember the name, but I've never fished. I really want to fish Arkansas a little bit more because I think it'd be really cool, especially on a fly rod. Yeah, and map spinners are great for conventional too. Yeah, I think that whole little line down south is really a really cool place, Arkansas. And then as you get further out east, you know, that smallmouth fishing, those smallmouth they pull out of all the spots is so cool. And then you guys also, I don't know if Squirrely's around here, Squirrely Outdoors, who I've collabed with many times. He's from Arkansas. Lived in Arkansas for a while. We were up to 41, now we're down to 2. Alrighty. So there we have a nice little steelhead fly. Or salmon, or pike, or trout, or really whatever. But that's what its main purpose is for. If anybody has any recommendations or requests, let me know. Yeah, it's okay. People don't have patience anymore, and that's fine. That's why I only really post shorts. It's a shame. I love posting longs, but if you look at my longs, they're about the same quality as my shorts, and they'll get like 70 views. And then my my longs will get like 70 views, and then my shorts will get like, you know, in the thousands in general. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. It seems like people's attention spans are getting more and more cooked as we go along. And it's nobody's fault. It's only, you know, big companies' faults. It's not like it's any of these people's faults, you know. It's just that, you know, TikTok and Instagram kind of started that ball rolling of that short, and Facebook, frankly, kind of started that wave of constant scrolling. And do I craft? Thank you for letting me know. I've heard lives are a good thing to do. Now I'll tie in my wire, and we're just doing another steelhead fly here. I'll switch it up. I'll tie a couple of these, and then I'll go into something else. Liam, if you have any requests, I saw you tied a rubber band pupa, or I don't know what that's called, a grub style fly. That looked pretty cool. I don't have any rubber bands where I tie one of those, because that was pretty fun. Orvis is 5 minutes away, really. Yeah, exactly. You've grown a lot, Craft. Yeah, I kind of got to lock in. Start making some money here. The Orvis is right there for you. That's pretty cool. I don't know why I constantly do this. I'm so used to bringing up this floss without wire there that I just naturally do that. I don't need to use a cradle for this. Yeah, have you seen the new Helios? It's expensive as crap, that's for sure. I got to cast one at a local little, it's just called Cabin Fever Day in Wisconsin, and it was so nice. That new Helios, or not Helios, bro, what? Not Helios. I'm crazy. What's the Recon? Yeah, the new Recon rod that just came out. Oh, I'll follow you on Facebook. Just The Craft on Facebook. I'll follow you. Yeah, Recon 3. Yeah, that thing is so freaking sweet. What weight are you getting? Those things are really expensive. I remember, I thought they were like $490 or something, and now they're like $600. If I remember right. I don't track Orvis as much as I probably should. Yes, sir, The Craft. Alrighty, I'll look it up after this. Not as bad as the Helios, though. Oh, yeah, the Helios is so expensive. $550, yeah. The Helios is really expensive. If I was rich, I'd get one, because they're so nice. But, yeah, they are not cheap, that's for sure. What weight are you getting of the Recon? Do you say? Let me guess. You're East Coaster. You'll get a 7, what do they have, a 7.53 weight? Oh boy, you're getting the 11 weight. You're getting a pike rod. This is my rod for pike up here. It's a TFO big fly. I just won this at a show. So that'll be my pike rod this season. I also won this. Shout out to Dan Boggs from the Flying Muskie. he hooked me up with this too. This will be my muskie rod this season, or muskie fly rod this season. If you want to learn how to catch a muskie on a fly rod, get guided by that guy. He knows what he's talking about. Alrighty. Let's get another feather in here. Yeah, they're not cheap either. If I wouldn't have won it, I wouldn't have. I probably wouldn't have bought it. I think they're about the same as the new Recons. They're about 5 something. If I remember right. Ooh, we're a little blurry right now, aren't we? I didn't zoom this YouTube stream. They don't zoom well. Like, you can't get close to the fly. I was trying to tie some small flies and they just won't zoom. You got to really be pretty far away, and then nobody can see your fly. It's kind of annoying, but we'll work with it. I could probably figure out how to hook my actual camera up to this or something. Alrighty. Oh shoot, let's bring this up. Forgot to bring this up. Kind of important, isn't it? Well, that's a silly mistake. It'll be fine. I'll just use my bad scissors. Go ahead and give it a few wraps on here, especially with this thicker wire. You really want to kind of crank down. Have you been fishing, Liam, on any of your nice home water brook trout streams? I've always wanted to go and fish those in that area, all on the East Coast. I think that's really cool. Our driftless, I think, is pretty similar to that, but just kind of having that home water is just so fun. I suppose you guys also have stocked browns and stuff, but those brook trout are so freaking pretty. Alrighty. If anybody has any requests, by the way, leave them down below. I'm always happy to tie whatever. I really have no plan here, so if any of you guys want to see anything tied, definitely let me know. I'm gonna grab this nice little feather right here. And this is from a pheasant. Pheasant is probably one of my more preferred soft tackles feathers. Dragon pike flies. Dragons. Like dragon tail pike flies? Like, dragon. Am I bro? Elk-hair caddis? I'll tie up an elk-hair caddis. I'll look into that dragon pike fly. I think I don't have any dragon tails, if that's... Yeah. I don't have any dragon tails. I'll get some at some point, though. And I'll definitely tie some up on stream, or I'll just make a video about it. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Yeah, I'll for sure get some next time. I'll put it on my list. I'll tie up an elk-hair caddis, because I definitely know how to tie one of those. Okay. Yeah, I tied a lot of elk-hair caddises in my time. Never could really get one that I really thought was mine, you know? Like, I think a lot of people, including myself, have, like, most of the major patterns, like, you have a pattern that's, like, yours. Like, with a parachute Adams, like you tie it a certain way, or with an Adams, you know, like I tie mine very specifically. And with elk hair caddises, I've never really gotten one of those. It's quite a shame because they're, you know, they're such a good pattern. But like with a standard Adams, for example, like I know exactly how I tie it. I tie in a pheasant tail, which isn't exactly traditional, and then I tie in my grizzly hackle first. Then I tie in my brown hackle. I don't use a wing. Then I hackle. You know, like I have a very specific methodology, and I could never quite get the hang of it with the elk hair caddis. They're a super fun fly to tie, but I just never could quite do it. I've tied a lot of X caddises and stuff. I haven't tied them in a while though, so hopefully I'm not about to tie a horribly winged dry fly, but we will see. You tie a blue charm. Dude, I've never heard of that. Blue charm. I was trying to figure out what that was, and I've just been thinking about it for the last 3 minutes, and I can't play a blue charm. I don't think I've ever heard of that. I mean, I probably have, but I don't know how to tie one. Oh, there's mine. So I'll look into that as well. In the black case. It's a Limit Creek F1, I believe is the exact. This is the rod right here. Oh, it's a salmon fly? Oh, for sure. I love tying salmon flies. I'll look into that. Next stream, I'll tie up a blue charm. Yeah, it's a Limit Creek F1. I think they run about 300 some. This is about an 11 weight. It's not technically a weight because once you get up to really big rods, they generally go with grain line sizes. But if you had to put it in like a weight size, it would be an 11 weight approximately. Yeah, it's like a musky pike rod. It's a big pike rod, a medium musky rod kind of a thing. So great for probably throwing, I would guess, from the little bit of stuff that I've done with it, probably anywhere from right in here, probably like 8 to 12-inch flies. So really nice big pike rod, or a general purpose musky rod. Let me tie up an elk hair caddis. So I'm gonna go in with a. Let's do. Where are all my dry fly hooks? Goodness. I've had like so many size 14s laying around, and whenever you need them, they just disappear. Well, I'm gonna do a size 16 instead. Yeah, Limit Creeks are super fun. They're more of an independent brand. I know Musky Fool carries them, so they're not super independent, but Musky Fool is one of the major musky pike fly fishing shops. By the way, they're located in Madison, Wisconsin, kind of the heartland of both. Anyway, so they're not super independent, but they're small. They're not an Orvis, they're not a Winston, they're not a Sage. They're nothing super small. They're more of an independent kind of small business, if you will. Not like Moonshine Rodco or anything. At least I don't believe they're like, kind of a weird, like blank bought from China, wrapped here kind of a thing. I think they're more of a real rod company. So, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's tie up an elk hair caddis. How I tie them, which is not great. So I'm gonna start off with some hackle. I've got whiting here. Oh yeah, I'll tie a Clouser minnow too. It's a simple Atlantic salmon. Am I thinking of a different? What salmon flies have I tied? I swear to God, I've never tied a blue charm. Unless is it called a different name? How's it going at Godzilla? Does it have a different name? I don't know. I swear to God, I've never heard that. Maybe I'm crazy. I probably am crazy. I'm very crazy. It is on my channel. What do I say the name of it in there? It's a little small, but we'll make do with it. For elk hair caddises, I tend not to go super big with the hackle anyway. That's a shame. Well, I can try to tie an Atlantic salmon fly. We will see. Might be too much pressure. I might have to postpone that for next time. I don't really have... Problem with Atlantic salmon flies is they require so many materials, and I have gotten really lucky, and I've gotten some fly tying materials from some really nice old men. So I've got a lot of that old-timey material, but I gotta dig it all out. So I will remember blue charm. I have a pretty good memory. So, blue charm. But yeah, I'll also make sure to tie up a Clouser minnow, hook down flies. Alrighty, so we've got the hackle in here, and now we're gonna go in with some dubbing. I'm gonna be using... Ooh, where's my rabbit face? I haven't used rabbit face dubbing in so long. It's gotta be somewhere in here. Literally, I used to tie with it like all the time. Like 90% of the flies I tied with it were used rabbit face, but I haven't used rabbit face in so long. I guess I've been really caught up in tying like big streamers. I really haven't tied these kinds of flies. It's really fun to get back to my roots, I guess. So I'm gonna make a pretty thin dubbing noodle. I think sometimes we overemphasize how thin a dubbing we need. I don't think this requires like a coating, barely a coating. I like a little body on most of my dry flies, but having a little bit there is still fun. And I'm using rabbit face. It's not the best floating dry fly in the world. You know, it doesn't have the best anti-floating properties, or the best floating properties, but it makes such a good body, and it makes such a cool looking body that I think it's personally worth it, you know, especially it's already got hackle and elk hair on it, or deer hair. So I really don't think you need to worry too much about floatability and stuff. I think more so you just gotta... Did my hackle stem just like partially break? I can't tell. I might have to counter-wrap this, we'll see. So I'll bring this up in even-ish wraps. Monroe killer, sure. That's what I was thinking. Blue rib throat and gray squirrel wing. Yeah, so Monroe killer. Okay, sure. Do I have any? I might have a Monroe killer up here, actually, that I tied recently. I don't think I do. It's probably... it's probably in my salmon fly box in. Yeah, I have tied quite a fair few Monroe killers. I only got into them not very long ago. It is completely different. What's the difference between Monroe killer and blue charm? Honestly, I would have to look up a picture, dude. I'm not good with, like, fly pattern names. I'm not good with names in general. Like, I actually suck at remembering people's names, let alone fly pattern names. So... it doesn't sound very different from a Monroe killer. I don't know, I'm probably very wrong, but... From what I've heard, it sounds similar to a Monroe killer. Okay. And now, I'm going to go ahead and grab... And oh my god, this is so blurry, dude. God, I hate YouTube. Jesus Christ. Okay. Oh, goodness. Well, that's the problem with these small flies, I guess. Okay. I'm going to grab some hair here. And actually, I'm going to use some... Yeah. Well, I'm going to use this deer hair from... from a deer that I harvested. It won't be perfect. It won't be actual elk hair, but I'm running low on elk hair right now. I need to get some more, so we'll use some deer hair. It'll work pretty much as well. I don't believe they have much different in terms of floating properties or anything that I know of, at least. At least not much different. Get in that hair stacker. The Limit Creek rod is technically considered a 500 grain rod, I believe. 500 grain rod just means that's how many grain of line is recommended for it. Grains are just like it's just like the number of, like, grains is like a unit of measurement, and you can use it to kind of measure the weight of the fly line. It's basically an 11 weight. Advantages of it are it's a nice heavy rod. It'll throw big flies really well. Compared to like a, you know, your Orvis Recon and stuff, it's gonna be a lot. The warranty won't be as good on it, you know. For the Limit Creek, they will replace it like an Orvis, but you have to keep your receipt. Versus the, you know, for the Limit Creeks, you got to keep your receipt, I believe. For Recons, you know, you just register it, and, you know, you can get if you break it, you know, you can get another section for it. So it's a little bit more of a pain, but, you know, it's still a very good rod. And obviously way cheaper, but... There we go. We'll tie a Clouser minnow right after this. But there's a little elk-hair caddis. I don't love the hackle on it, but it's fine. You guys can probably barely see it. I need to get a bigger hook on this. I don't think these small patterns don't look great on screen. On where? It's called the F1. It's not actually considered an 11 weight again. It's called the F1, and it's considered a 500 grain rod. And if you go on to Limit Creek rods or whatever it's called, you'll see there'll be an F1 rod, and it's not considered an 11 weight. It's considered an 11 weight, like, if you called, like, I know the only place that I know that sells it is Muskie Fool, like brick and mortar. The only place that I know that sells it brick and mortar is Muskie Fool. And if you look on their website, or maybe not their website, if you look like in their videos and stuff, they'll call it an 11 weight. It is an 11 weight. They just market it as a 500 grain rod because it more accurately describes the kind of lines you'll be throwing on it. There's the elk-hair caddis, by the way, guys. But yeah, it's basically an 11 weight. It's just not called an 11 weight. It's called a 500 grain rod. Let's tie up a Clouser minnow. I'm going to be using a Firehole 718 for this. Thank you. Let's get one that's not blurry, because that one was very blurry. I'm very sorry, guys. Okay, this bigger fly should zoom a little bit better at least. So I'm gonna start off with gray thread. I like gray thread for this. White thread also works. The amount of times I've used black thread without like really thinking about it, and then it just comes out horribly, is honestly kind of sad. Okay, I'll remember, I'll make sure to for sure try out blue charms, by the way. I'll research that. I'll do that in my next live, or one of my next lives. I'll tie up a blue charm. Okay, let's get going on this. So actually I do not need to go that far back. I don't really know. I put down a thread dam without thinking about it sometimes. Let's grab dumbbell eye. I tend to not go too big on my dumbbell eyes. I don't think dumbbell eyes need to be super heavy for most situations. If you're fishing really deep water or something, definitely heavy dumbbell eyes help. But at a certain point, I think like having too big of a dumbbell eye just isn't worth it. So I'm using a relatively small dumbbell eye here. I do have some slightly larger ones that I probably could go to, but I don't love casting these because, you know, I might want to cast this on a 5 weight, and casting really big dumbbell eyes is just kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm going pretty small, and that's a little bit closer to the eye than I prefer. Kind of moving it back. Okay. And now how I tie in these in is after I kind of initially wrap, I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Switch sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll do some para wraps, about 6 of them. Really kind of cranking down. and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once again, kind of going back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'll do a few figure 8 wraps. Sometimes with lighter threads, I'll do figure 8 wraps more because, you know, you can't put as much tension down. If I'm doing really big, you know, 3/0 thread or something, I don't always do figure 8s, but with this lighter, you know, 6/0 thread, it does make a little bit of a difference. And now we'll grab my initial color, deer tail, which in this case, obviously, is going to be some white. There we have it. Grab some white deer hair, or deer tail, and this stuff is pretty short on this deer tail, so it's kind of a pain to work with to get a nice long tail on a Clouser, especially on a long shank Clouser like this. So I'll do my best to not make this guy too short. I'm gonna go to the front. I'll actually kind of line up all these fibers quick, make a little taper, and then start tying them in using a few loops. From there, kind of cinch down, make sure everything's kind of lined up, and then you don't need to make too big of a head on this. Yeah, right now I'm recording on my iPhone, yes. And then I'll just do, do I want to do crosshatch? I kind of go in between using crosshatch and like fully filling in. I haven't really decided which one I like better, because sometimes I'll just do a crosshatch where I go back, and sometimes I'll just fully fill in the whole thing. So I don't know, it kind of depends on what kind of mood I'm in. I'm feeling crosshatch today. Sometimes it's just really satisfying to just fully fill it in though. It's really cool. Okay, and then I'll go with the underside. And there's a few different colors that I love. I love chartreuse. I really love orange. I really love pink. Today I'm gonna go in with some orange. I'm using some Musky Fool bucktail. If you want bucktail, good bucktail, get it from Musky Fool. Musky Fool's bucktail is so much better than, like, you know, Hairline or whatever other brands are out there. So this is great. This is their grade A, which I think is about $14 a length. And as you can see, like, this is so long a bucktail. This is super long. This is almost too long. So that's why obviously you kind of got to clip off some. They also make a Clouser grade, which is just a little bit shorter, which is better for actual Clousers because it's shorter. It's not as expensive, and it's good for, you know, this is better for like musky flies, big pike flies, things of that nature. Oh, do they have a sale on them? Very cool. They got a bunch of good colors. This is rusty brown, I do believe. They make a like a, I don't know what it's called. They make a really cool like teal kind of color that's really cool. They make a bunch of cool colors. And this is a little bit longer than I would normally go, but because this is such long a bucktail, I'm gonna go with it just because, you know, why not? And then we'll flip this over now. Okay, kind of fluff this out just a hair. And now I'm just gonna build up this head just a hair. Yeah, and honestly, their bucktail prices aren't much worse than like the big store brands. So I personally buy mostly from, like, I've got a few other bucktail types in here, but mostly I buy from Musky Fool just because they have such good northern bucktail. So that's mainly what I use. Or I just, you know, for normal classic white, it's normally 16. Okay, so I don't know, maybe their brick and mortar is a little bit cheaper. I normally go to the brick and mortar. I don't really buy online from them too much. I don't buy materials online, natural materials, because I like to be able to select my stuff. Bucktails, hackle for sure. I have a hackle I have a brown hackle that's a bronze grade and a grizzly hackle that's a pro grade, and the grizzly hackle is so much nicer than the brown hackle. So that's why selection is so good. Buying online with musky fool I think is okay. I had a friend who orders on musky fool a bunch, and they do a really good job because their grade A is all really good stuff. But when you're buying from just like the big store brands, especially, they're just gonna take the first thing on the rack. But when it comes to, I don't know, when it comes to like small brands like Musky Fool and like, there's a lot of little fly shops that do it. Who make their own bucktail. They tend to do a better job just because they automatically grade it, Musky Fool's got their grade A, their Clouser grade, and I think they have one grade below that. I forgot, is that just called B grade or something? So they all automatically kind of sort it. So like, this tail is gonna be no worse than any other tail because they do a really good job. But for a lot of things like hackle and stuff, really I prefer to go to brick and mortar just because it's so much nicer. And there we have a Clouser. The colored hair is a little bit longer than I would have preferred, but I just didn't want to cut off. I didn't want to waste too much bucktail. So there we have it. Any other requests, by the way? Sorry, I could not do the blue tag. I'll make sure to research that one. What's a good pike fly? I'll tie up one good pike fly that I don't have the materials for right now is a Bad Hair Day. Look that up. Bad Hair Day, great pike fly. It's made with craft fur, and I use MFC Scales and Tails, best synthetic ever, by the way, MFC Scales and Tails. But I think traditionally they use Flashaboo, and that's a great pike fly. I can tie up a pike fly if you want. Ooh, which one should I do? I've got my pike box right here. It's not very well organized. I've lost a lot of the flies from it. Ooh, a game changer. I do have... Dude, that's so annoying. I got these shanks right here, but I literally just used the last of my brushes on a musky game changer. It's on YouTube right now. See ya, Liam. That's so annoying. I do have the shanks, but I don't have any brushes. I guess... Ooh, can you make a feather changer without any synthetics? I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Alrighty, well, to live on the memory of Liam, I'll tie up a pike fly. Maybe Hooked on Flies can tell me if I can tie a feather changer without synthetics or without a brush, because I have no brushes right now. I'm very low on a lot of materials. I haven't been to a fly shop in quite some time. We'll tie up a Krelek style fly, I guess. I'll go with a classic lead painted eyes from Wopsy that fall apart as soon as it hits the water. I don't know if you guys ever use these Wopsy dumbbell eyes, but the paint on them chips so fast, it's embarrassing. The first time I used them was probably 2 years ago. I tied a dungeon with them, mini dungeon with them. I went out to an alpine lake, and I actually made a video, I believe, fishing that alpine lake. Maybe not. That might have been before. Anyway, I use mini dungeons in alpine lakes all the time. It's pretty good. And I went out there, and first cast, what happens? This perfectly prime painted eye goes from perfectly good in one cast to literally just pure lead with a few little flecks of paint still on it. They fall apart so fast, it's weird. So anyway, yeah, I'm kind of a hater of Wopsy white eyes for that reason. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's my problem, probably is, but for me at least, they fall apart really freaking fast. So I'm going to take some more of that white. And again, this is a pretty short bucktail, which is kind of annoying, but I'll try to make it work to the best of my abilities. I'm going to tie that in like so, as close to those eyes as possible. And just, I should grab my good scissors for this, shouldn't I? And I'm just going to kind of trim away. Yeah, let's tie a royal wulff. Sounds good. I certainly got the stuff for that. I'll show you. Oh my god, bro. Are we kidding? Are we actually kidding? That was embarrassing. Okay, let's try that again. That's why we don't try to spin deer hair while we're trying to cut it, friends. That is why we do that. Yeah, I'll tie a royal wulff right after I do this. Royal wulff is one of my personal favorite flies. Attractor patterns, especially. Such a good attractor pattern. I have like a dozen in my box at all times. It's like a very much an essential for me. You know, they're you know, they're a great attractor pattern, but at the same time, they also kind of, we're gonna do I'm gonna fully color this in this time. They're such a good attractor pattern, but they're also super good at just mimicking mayflies. So they both are an attractor pattern and also can kind of mimic naturals pretty well, I think. Like, they can mimic you tie it in a size 14 and they can mimic a mayfly pretty freaking good. By the way, my Renzetti Traveler screw comes out, the screw right here comes out so much. I don't know why, it just loosens up so often. It's kind of weird. Okay, tighten that up. And then I'm going to put out some flash from the back. And this is basically a Clouser minnow with a twist. Great pike fly. Clousers in general are great, but when you add some flash to them, especially for like sunnier days, they work super good. And on cloudy days too, I guess. Some people say that shinier flies work on better on cloudy days than sunny days. In my experience, for pike at least, I feel like it's the opposite. I think on really sunny days, having a really flashy pattern, especially in murkier water, works really good. And I don't fish for pike a lot in clear water, so I can't really give you my perspective on that. Renomed. I'm probably butchering that so much. I'm gonna have to write that down. Yeah, I am looking. So this was my first pair of scissors I ever got. These are just Dr. Slick all purposes. And they worked great for, I don't know, quite a while. And then they started to wear out, and at about the same time, I got a pair of arrow point scissors from them. That was probably about a year ago. And they work great too, but both of them are starting to dull, so I'll definitely check them out. Oh my god, I'm gonna butcher the name. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm just gonna write it down. Pen. Okay, perfect. Thank you for letting me know. I will check those out. Okay, so we've got a little bit of flash on the top, and that obviously works great. And now we're gonna go in with some pink bucktail. This is one of the few bucktails that I have that is not from either myself or people that have shot them and gave them to me, or from Muskie Fool. This is just a standard dyed bucktail. And cut off a little piece. We'll tie this in, and this time I'm not going to feel bad about cutting this off, because that last one that we tied was, I don't know, I don't love it. I'll fish it, it'll be fine, but that hair on there is just a little bit shorter than I would, or a little bit longer on there than I would prefer. Okay. Split this hair in half. Tiemco, they made... Really? They made scissors. That's crazy. I didn't know that. Huh. I've heard a lot of people say good things about Renzetti, but I've heard a lot of people say bad things about Renzetti, so it's kind of weird. Like their tools as a whole. I've never heard many things bad about their vices, but some people love their tools, and a couple people I've talked to, especially in person, I don't think I've ever seen somebody online criticize them, but some people on in person that I've met say that Renzetti tools are really bad. So I have no idea. So I probably wouldn't take a risk, especially because they're not cheap, you know. Okay. Well, there we go. There's my favorite pike fly right there. Clouser with Flashaboo. Or Crystal Flash works fine. Flashaboo just tends to be a little bit flashier. Is probably my favorite pike fly of all time. I'm going to get this out, and let's tie up a royal wulff. I'm ready to tie something up that's a little different. Okay. Well, there we have. Okay. Let's tie up a royal wulff. So, for this, I tend to go a little bit bigger than, you know, than say a Parachute Adams or something. Just because, you know, really at its heart, it's an attractor pattern. So, let's go with, what size should we go with? God, I got a big old mess from doing this. I don't tend to put stuff away when I'm live streaming as much as I probably should. I don't want to take the time to. You've only ever tied on Regal Vices, really? I've never tied on a Regal Vice, so I do not have an opinion on them. I think they look really cool, that's for sure. Like, they look like a really freaking cool vice. But I cannot say anything about their quality or anything. I've never tied on one. I guess we'll just tie on I've got some old size 12 Mustad hooks laying around. These are their Vikings. I think they're really cool. A lot of people don't tie on them. I guess they're probably not super common anymore. I don't know if they make the Vikings anymore, but they are super cool. So I'm gonna tie on them. You just gotta make sure to crimp the barb, and they're pretty good. Actually, you know what? I want to tie something a little bigger so that people can see, because I've been having troubles lately with people being able to see these smaller hooks on lives. So I'm actually gonna go with a larger hook. We're gonna go with a size 10 Mustad. Or not Mustad. Umpqua. I'm gonna grab some black thread. You don't technically need black thread, I guess, but I have really only ever tied these with black thread, so I'm gonna use it. Hooked on flies. How much is a Regal Vice? I don't think I've ever looked at the prices for those. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, I love my Renzetti, but it is always cool to look at other vices. Just to dream more than anything. This vice serves me perfectly well, but it is fun to look at other vices and think about, you know, what other stuff is good. So, I'm tying this in, and there's a few different paths that you can go. You know, a lot of people nowadays tie them with do I have it? With the pheasant crest. I have some somewhere. I don't know where it is. Pheasant crest and of the like. Some people tie them with pheasant tail, and a lot of people tie them with deer hair. I personally go kind of a very weirdo's route. I've always done it, and I will probably do it for the foreseeable future. And that is, and I've never done that with this one clearly, because it's not, I'm gonna use the tail of a tail. But I'm not going to use the white side that everybody uses. nobody seems to use this side for, I barely see anything for anybody using this side. I use this side for it. And I've clearly never done it on this tail before. $6.99 with stainless jaws. So yeah, it's not cheap. But that's, I mean, I get Regals I've heard are very durable, so that is fair. Most of these vices that you get that are pricey will last you a life. Like this will probably last me a lifetime, you know, like if you get a good vice, it'll last you for a long time. So I use the back side of a tail, which I haven't seen anybody use. I don't know where I learned it. I'm pretty sure I learned it from somebody. I don't know who I learned it from. But yeah, tie that in just like that. Go the full length of the body, of course, just to kind of, especially in these traditional flies where you really have you really want a nice kind of almost like you're about to tie a thread body, because, you know, little lumps will show you everything. I'm tying a royal wulff, or a variation of a royal wulff, I guess I should say. And then the next thing that I do that's different is, so I use this for some of my royal wulffs in the past. This is calf body here, or calf tail. I've used calf tail too. Yeah, but golden pheasant is also super pretty. I love to tie with it. I just don't, I don't know. I've always just tied it this way, and so I don't really tie it like that. I probably should, because I think that it looks really cool. It's probably a great attractor thing, but yeah, I've always tied mine with just this hair here. So you can definitely use this, and I definitely do, but I have now, as I've grown more accustomed to tying modern flies, I guess you could say, I do use poly yarn now. I have a massive spool that I found in the back of a closet in an office somewhere. So yeah, I have a basically infinite supply of this slightly off-white color, and this is basically all I use. I don't think I've ever bought a card of white poly yarn or Antron yarn or anything like it. I don't think I ever have. I just never felt the need to, because I've got tons of this white poly yarn that I just found for free, and it will last me. It's literally, I've got it. I keep it above my desk with this length sticking out. This will last me forever. This will last me forever, and it floats super well. It works great. It is a little annoying to get ready. You got to really brush it out, and sometimes it'll kind of fall apart weirdly, but it's great. But anyway, I tend to use this just because it's a little easier and faster to tie with. It's definitely really fun to use and it looks really good to use calf body hair or calf tail. I just tend to do it like this because it's pretty quick and easy, and makes, in my opinion, a really like a fishable pattern. Like, it's really fishable, it's really durable, all that good stuff. And this is one of my favorite patterns to tie. I just don't tie them. I don't know why. I really need to tie more of them, because this is such a fun pattern to tie. So anyway, yeah, I'll just do an initial thing like this, then I'll spin it around. How's it going, Lure Lab? You got a perfect name for flying ties, tying flies. Lure Lab, that's a fun name. Okay. And then from there, I'll cut them pretty long. I'll trim them up later. But from now, I'll just tie them like that, or cut them like that. Now I'll come back over here, and I will grab some peacock curl. I used to always use peacock eyes and just strip off the peacock curl from them, but I decided to go to the dark side and just get strung peacock curl. I'll select a few fibers of this. I usually do 3. I don't know how the fly tying giants do theirs, but I usually do 3 or 4 sometimes, or 2. It depends on how my mood is. And I'm just gonna cut off kind of the last probably 2 inches, maybe 1.5, and that'll allow a really nice strong base for this fly. That is the one annoying thing about using poly yarn, is the fibers tend to kind of get trapped and in the way. Okay, and from there, rotary time. Oh, nuke eggs. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you want to rile up a fly tying stream or community as a whole, just talk about nuke eggs. Yeah. Nuke eggs are, okay. I want to say that they're good, and I've hooked fish with them. I actually, like a true nuke egg, I don't think I've ever actually caught a fish with a true nuke egg. I've caught fish with egg patterns, probably, that I remember. But I remember I've only used a nuke egg, like, a couple times. And I've caught, like, no, I've never caught a fish with a nuke egg. So, like, I don't know. I think nuke eggs are kind of dumb. So I usually do my back pretty long, and then I do my hot spot almost all the way up, and I only do a few wraps of the peacock curl at the very top. I barely do a peacock curl collar. I just don't think it's necessary, personally. I think that, I don't know. So that's, I don't know, that's just how I've always tied them. So, yeah, you can't teach a dog, old dog, new tricks, I guess. I'm gonna grab a length of this. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna grab a length of this uni stretch. Traditionally, you'd use, you know, real floss, but this uni stretch works just as well. And there's definitely easier ways to do that, but whatever. I'll tie this in, and then I guess I'll just do the same thing. I'll half hitch this and just rotate it with the rotary setting. Hooked on Flies, are you out of Canada? There we go. And now I'm just gonna wrap this right around. Secure that in place, just like any other floss. Inspired me. What was my inspiration? My inspiration, well, my first inspiration was lure making. I made like wooden like crankbaits. I don't have any nearby. I started making wooden crankbaits for conventional fishing. And you know, that was fun for a while, and I still enjoy making them. I just made a musky lure not too long ago. But yeah, I was doing that for a while, and then I stumbled across, I guess, like the YouTube algorithm. You are based out of Canada? Very cool. Oh, you guys have, are you in, like, BC area? Oh, sure. Oh, East Coast. Okay. I've seen some of those BC bull trout, and those are so cool. I really want to go over there. You have East Coast. What's on East Coast? That'd be more like brook trout. Would that be brook trout fisheries? Do you guys have brook trout? I would assume you guys have brookies over there, right? Anyway, yeah, and so I just stumbled across some Mainly Flies videos, R.I.P., because I think he no longer makes videos. Haven't seen a video of his in, like, a year. But yeah, so I just watched some of his videos, and I was like, yo, that's pretty cool. So I started off tying with, do I have any, I just had some because I was repairing it, and I believe it was the very spool I used. I used a pair of leatherworking thread. I used some leatherworking thread, and I made my first fly, and it used some like weird, I don't know how to describe it. It was like marabou, I guess. It was marabou, weird marabou that I got from, it was weird marabou that I had gotten from off of a, you know those birds that like they use like water, like they use water to cool their beak to create weird air pressure inside to make them like they drink and then they flip up and then they drink. It's science-y. I use the marabou off of like the wing of one of those to make a fly. You guys do a brook trout. Okay, very cool. Yeah, that'd be cool to go over there and do Canada brook trout. Sounds so fun. And so I used just like the green like chartreuse marabou off of one of those, and I made my first fly out of some leatherworking stuff. Probably just like a normal like bluegill fishing hook, and yeah, and I just tied it in hand. I like literally did like a knot, like an actual knot to finish it off. Atlantic salmon, dude, Atlantic salmon are so freaking cool. I love those things so much. Yeah, so that makes sense why you love your Atlantic salmon flies. You guys, do you spay fish or do you just conventionally fish with like a bobber? Or indicator, my bad. I'm about to get beat up by the fly fisher community. I'm gonna cut this off now that I kind of know the length of my hackle and whatnot. I'm only gonna do a few wraps on that side of the wing before going on this side, and I really usually concentrate my wraps on this side. It just tends to make a better profile in my opinion. There we go. We got a few straggler fibers on this one. I tied a few streams ago, I tied the most perfect little Adams fly I've ever tied. It was so perfect. Like literally not a single hackle fiber out of line. It was really nice. I want to learn how to spay fish. I think that'd be cool. I'm a little intimidated, I guess you could say. It just seems so complicated, you know. It's not normal casting. It's barely roll cast. It's like crazy, like it's super weird. I want to try it though. I think it'd be so fun. And like using like, okay, well now I can't grab it. Using like tube flies like this, I've been tying some of these up, would be just so fun. Alrighty, well there we have a royal wulff. I might do, if anybody has another request, I'll do another fly if anybody requests it. Yeah, so if anybody wants to request one last fly, definitely feel free to do so, by the way. And there's my take on a royal wulff. It's not a super conventional looking fly, but this is how I've been tying them for quite a few years. Really long, and this one's pretty accentuated, but really long back section, a pretty short hotspot, and then a really tiny little bulb of nuke egg. Oh boy, I'm about to get beat up. I'll tie up a nuke egg, sure. Let's do it. I think I've got some, I have some yarn in here. I've been tying up some steelhead flies. Yeah, I've got some McFly foam in here. We got that. I'll tie up a nuke egg. I'm about to lose all my viewers, but that's fine. Let's tie up a nuke egg. There's a royal wulff. Okay, let's tie up a nuke egg. These things take about 15 seconds to tie. I'll try to keep it a little bit longer than that. What I normally use to tie these things are Gamakatsu carp hooks. These come in tiny little packs, and I only have 2 left, and I have a plan for these, so I'm not going to be tying with these. I'll tie a smaller nuke egg, like a trout nuke egg. How about? Let's tie up actually, you know what? It doesn't matter. I can get more hooks. People don't spay and... Oh, sure. Swinging wet flies. But you've gotten into spay. That's pretty cool. You guys use single hand rods for dead drifting, or not for dead drifting, sorry, for swinging flies? That's pretty fun for salmon. I never really thought about doing that. I don't know why. I should do that. Around me, how's it going, Squirrely Outdoors? Around me, I do, I use a 7-weight because we're just, me and Squirrely Outdoors, who just popped on. We live in the Great Lakes region, so we just use literal 7 weights for these fish, unlike, you know, around you guys. I don't know, you guys probably use, on the actual ocean Atlantic salmon, what do you use? Probably 9 weights, I would assume, right? Alrighty, so we've got a little thread base here for our nuke egg. And let's get this cheater fly on the road. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't worry. McFly phone. McFly phone is such a cool little material, though. It's like stretchy, but also like rough. It's very fun. You live in northern Indiana, so you have opportunities. Yeah, we're about an hour and a half from Michigan, so you guys definitely have some steelhead and salmon opportunities. Me and Squirrely will hopefully be doing a video this spring for steelheading. But I fear I'm going to light up the air. And I tie mine really quick and really boring, so I'm just kind of basically just lengthening out this tie so that I don't have to, you know, be a bot. If anybody else has any more requests, send them my way quick, because this fly is about to go really quick. So yeah, so then after doing that, you can kind of just move it around. And these flies are super simple. They don't have to look pretty. You know, it's not a you know, a fancy fly or anything. It can really be super simple. It's supposed to look like an egg, you know. Eggs aren't immaculate in the slightest. So there we have it. Any more requests? I'll give this a whip finish, just like so. Hooked on Flies, I'm sure, has some requests. Really, 5 to 7 weight. That's some light gear. That's pretty cool. So even ocean run fish, you can do some lighter gear. That's interesting. I've never fished ocean for that stuff. So for steelhead and coho, very cool. Yeah, steelhead and coho are super fun. I just caught my biggest Chinook this year on a Clouser minnow. It's a very effective fly. Fought it for like 20 minutes on a 7-weight. It was quite the fight, that was for sure. Very fun. And that's probably one of the biggest fish I've ever had, period. Crawfish imitation, I can try one of those up. Should I do my signature crawfish, or should I do like a more traditional looking? My signature crawfish uses foam, and it's almost like a Carolina rig. That's on my YouTube channel. Let's tie up a fun fly. Let's tie up like a smallmouth pike kind of fly. Smallmouth fly. Like almost like we were going out on a big deep Wisconsin lake and doing some smallmouth around some rock piles. Hooked on Flies. I've always wondered this. Are your guys' steelhead? We could do that. Yeah. Have you guys ever, like, Hooked on Flies? I know you guys don't have a ton of stocking. Do you guys on the ocean stock at all? Or are those all completely native, natural fish? Or is it like, you know, out in California with the with the striped bass and stuff like that. Like, do they stock them at all? Does the reproduction in the rivers, is it enough to sustain steelhead and I guess salmon too? Is that enough? Alrighty, we'll use some orange thread for this. We'll use some big old streamer thread. Alrighty, we've got some orange thread. And I'm gonna get out some dumbbell eyes here. Into the dumbbell eye drawer we go. It is impressive how low. No steelhead where you're at. Really? No steelhead. Do your salmon reproduce enough to repopulate? No steelhead. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I'm very sorry. East Coast, no steelhead. Yes. All salmon are 100% wild. Yeah, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry, Hooked on Flies. That was very ignorant of me. I was thinking of West Coast. I'm sorry. Atlantic salmon. Yes. Yes, that was ignorant of me. I'm sorry. Yeah. So all your salmon are 100% wild, though. That is very cool. I was wondering about natural reproduction with all the tainted waterways that, especially in the states that we have. I was always wondered about what fish were wild and what fish, if they stocked them at all. Well, this will probably be one of my last flies. I might do a collab with Squirrely, though. We'll see. We're gonna tie up a fun crayfish imitation, though. Let's have fun with this thing. So once again, I'm gonna have to tighten up the stupid vise. Yeah, I wonder how much carp. They have out in up in Canada. Because they're invasive, I wouldn't think they have a ton. Because Canada does a way better job of fish and game management, at least from my perspective, as the States does. But I would be curious about that. Yeah. Okay, let's use some squirrel tail. Squirrel tail, one of my favorite materials of all time. Makes great. I made musky flies with this stuff. Like, this stuff is so good. Like, you can even tie, well, this technically is squirrel tail in it. Like, this is basically 100% squirrel tail, and it's a full-on musky fly, so you can really tie all sorts of good stuff with it. I would say steelhead jump more, like salmon run. I don't. Who said anything about steelhead comparing? Did I misspeak? I'm sorry. I have a lot of things going around in my head. We were talking about carp. Steelhead. Yeah, steelhead are, yeah, they're a little bit different. I would say carp are similar, though. I do agree with Squirrely on that one. Para wrap. Yeah, I think steelhead are a lot more widespread on the West Coast, are they not? you guys have landlocked salmon at all hooked on flies? Brookies do not fight, but they are not fight as much, but they are so fun. That is true. Okay, first pair of wing, done. Grab the second. We're grabbing another little clump of squirrel tail. Just a decent little clump. I don't believe Squirrely Outdoors says I have. I don't know who you're talking to. I have. I would argue steelhead jump more. I think steelhead are considered one of the jumpiest fish. I would agree with that. I would say steelhead jump a ton. They really, I don't know, they really jump a ton. I've never landed one though, so gotta get one in the net. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure, and there probably is actually hooked on flies. You might be right about saltwater species, because we fish lake run trout, which are technically the steelhead that we fish, are actually just big lake trout that come in to spawn. So actually you literally have saltwater run species, so they might not jump more, but at least our lake run species do in general. But yeah. You've caught some steelhead on the lake, haven't you, Squirrely? Alright, so there's our two little claws for this crayfish. Now I'm going to make a dubbing loop. And, okay, this is the part we kind of got to lock in on. So I'm going to grab... Where's my dubbing spinner? I am a mess right now. So... God dang it. Alrighty, guys. I'd like to thank you guys for coming along. We're going to start wrapping things up here. I might do another live stream with Squirrely. I'll have to talk to him about that. We're just getting... Oh my gosh, I just lost all my dubbing while I was looking for my dubbing spinner. How stupid of me. Okay, let's put this back in. Where's my dubbing spinner at? Okay, well, now I lost it. Hooked on flies. Do many of people in Canada spin fish for ocean run species, or for ocean run salmon? Or, oh my gosh, are you kidding? It was on my dubbing spinner, on my dubbing loop. I'm kind of, I don't know, that's kind of crazy. Do many people conventionally fish, or do most of them fly fish for them? Around here, most people actually conventionally fish. And I personally sincerely believe that at least for king salmon that are lake run, I think the fly fishermen do better. I don't know why, if there's just less pressure, you know, for flies than there is. It's illegal to conventionally fish? That's crazy. Or for bait, at least, I would assume. That's crazy. Do you guys have a law that you can only use barbless hooks too? Or is that, am I wrong about that? Or is that like a different area? Are you on, what island are you? Are you on Prince Edward? Or what island are you on? Alrighty, well, we'll go ahead and brush this out. Really? Floating line. Oh, you're Newfoundland. Okay. Sure, sure. Wow, those regulations are very interesting. Is it for conservation purposes, or is it more for like just like traditional sportsmanship purposes? Like, is it like they don't want you to catch as many kind of a thing, or is it a, you know, we want, you know, we're traditionalists and we want you to use flies kind of a thing, I wonder. Okay, now I'm going to do a little dubbing mix of some bloody black dubbing. You'd learn. I think you'd learn, Squirrely. You're good enough at fly fishing by now, like with casting and stuff, that learning the new stuff isn't that hard to learn. Like, learning how to, like, swing flies and stuff is super, you know, it's not super much harder than what you're doing right now. So, I think you'd be fine, personally. New dubbing loop. Bam. Okay. Slightly flashier dubbing blend here. I'm going to grab Really? Okay, so it's probably more of the traditionalist side of things than the conservation side of things. Or maybe it's probably some of both, honestly, at this point. That's really cool, though, that they only allow flies. That would be annoying, though, for, like, pressure purposes. Because, like, where I live, there's basically no pressure with fly rods. Or there is, obviously. Like, a lot of people still fly fish for them. But it's not nearly as much as those who spin fish with them. So salmon and steelhead see egg sacs every single day, right? But do they see a chartreuse Clouser minnow every day? Maybe, but probably not, you know? So I think that's what separates, like, not only have I caught, you know, fish that I don't think I would have caught with conventional, but I also have just seen a lot more people catch have seen a lot more people catch salmon and steelhead on flies than I have with conventional, even though a lot of times conventional is, you know, a lot more common. Retain. So you're only allowed to keep fish? Huh. Really? I mean, I personally don't really keep fish, so I wouldn't be too mad about that, but Squirrely would. He loves keeping his fish. Yeah, if catch and release wasn't allowed, that would be really annoying. I would not probably fish if I couldn't at least catch and release. That would be so annoying. Alrighty, there is a simple crayfish smallmouth fly. Also be good for pike, I'm sure, and largemouth. Super simple, super shaggy. I guess, well, now Buggy isn't probably copyrighted anymore, right? Now that Mainly Flies is gone? Alrighty, guys, I'd like to thank you guys for coming along. If you've enjoyed the stream at all, please do consider subscribing. You can just click on my little icon at the top, that at Old Time Skills Outdoors 20 icon, and click subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. I greatly appreciate every single subscriber. If not, I'm not here to beg. It's fine. But thank you guys so much for watching along with me. I'm just gonna get some UV resin on this fly. Really? You can't fish a Clouser here either. You can probably do like a hair-winged fly. That's, you can probably do a hair-winged fly that is like a Clouser, though, which is nice, I guess. But yeah, that is so annoying. And you can't do a sinking line either, huh? Wow, that's crazy. Gonna give this one last brush out, and this fly will be pretty much completed. And I'll get out of here. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching, and do subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.